Hi, guys. So, I recently made a poll asking you guys which topic you'd like to see me discuss, and free will had the most votes. So, I want to give you my interpretation and my expression of this understanding. And free will is a pretty interesting topic to explore. One, because it ties directly into non doership, which, if you're unfamiliar with non doership, then I would suggest go watching a video that I recently created called non doership, and it will help you get a bigger and clearer picture of what it is I'm referring to at some points in this video. Now, it's also interesting because, from one point of view, we are told that we do have free will, and on the other, we're told that we don't. So, what's the big deal here? Let's explore and expand consciousness and get to the bottom of this. So, to begin with, we have to be very specific on the who part when we're asking who has free will. If we are asking if a human or a body or a person has free will, then the answer is a hard no. And allow me to explain why. So, if we look at what a person is literally made up of genetics and conditioning. And neither of these two components can be said to have free will because you don't have control over either of them. So, on one hand, we have genetics, which come from our mother and our father. Now, you didn't choose who your mom or your dad were going to be. And furthermore, you didn't pick and choose which combination of genetics you were going to receive from each of them. So we can rule out the fact that genetics can't or doesn't have free will. Now, on the other hand, we have conditioning. And conditioning is simply a byproduct of everything that we experience on a moment to moment basis, shaping and molding the very person that we may feel ourselves to be. But as much as one may think, nobody can predict or control their experience. Thus, they can't control the type of conditioning that we receive because experience is random. So, and also, a conditioning pattern can't act freely outside of its own programming. So, it can be clearly seen that conditioning or genetics, which make up a person, do not have free will. On a relative level, if you feel yourself to be a separate self, then the answer is no, you don't have free will. And the separate self is literally a non existent entity or a thought that awareness or consciousness begins to identify itself with. And these thoughts are the association with the body and the mind. When consciousness begins to associate or identify itself with the activities of the body and the mind, it creates this deep sense and feeling that we are the doer of our experience. But just as the Buddha says, events and deeds are done, but there is no individual doer thereof. And this leads us to our second question. Then who is it that has free will? And to those I say that the only one that there is, which is God, consciousness, or awareness. When the seeker begins to divest itself from the limitations of the body and the mind and stand revealed as infinite being, then consciousness is able to start freely moving through the person within the present. You see, it's always been the pesky ego that has kept us in some sort of bondage, making us limited and contracted in nature. So, on an absolute level, you do have free will if your identity lies with consciousness or awareness. And I want to leave you guys with an analogy. And modern times call for modern analogies. So, since I used to be a heavy gamer for the good portion of my life, allow me to introduce you guys to the analogy of the gamer and the character. And we'll say that the gamer is infinite consciousness and the character is the so-called person. So the gamer puts on a VR headset and assumes the role of a character within a game. And from the point of view of the character within the game, it really feels like we are doing things and performing actions like slaying monsters and interacting with other characters. But can the character in the game actually do anything outside of the gamer's control? The answer is no. The character is the gamer, and the will of the gamer moves through the character. The only problem that arises is when the gamer starts to identify itself with the character in the game. But at any point in time, the gamer is free to take off the headset and see clearly that it was never the character to begin with. Likewise, we can say that consciousness assumes the role of a so-called person. And at any point in time, it can be seen clearly that you aren't this person, that you are indeed consciousness. And when we release the feeling and the belief of being a separate self, then we can start to take notice and see clearly that it's simply the will of consciousness moving through the person. That we ourselves aren't the doer of our experience. That in fact, we are just the impartial witness of it all. So that's all I have for this video, guys. This is my first time actually talking about this subject aloud. So if you guys feel like I can answer any questions or clarify anything I said in this video, then I invite you, as always, to leave a comment down below and even connect with me on Instagram. And if you're familiar in, or if you're interested in my teachings for the direct path, which is a experiential way of seeing clearly that you are God, consciousness, or awareness, then just get in touch with me or schedule a link on my You Can Book Me. I would love to explore and explain this path to you guys and show you how it helped me and all the implications of it. So, with that being said, just remember to keep your heart open and remain present. I'll see you in the next one.